freezing tundra with these daring
on the watches.
But they make the attempt anyway.
Sure.
How do you think about that?
It's their job to run. It's our job to catch.
Hi, welcome to Ultimate Explorer. I'm Lisa Ling. At more than 38 million in number, Latinos have surpassed African Americans as the largest ethnic minority in the United States. Their increasing presence is changing the face of America. As an issue, this one is explosive, and tonight I'll be investigating several strands of the same tale. What it's really like to sneak across a border in the black of night, risking arrest, deportation, and all too often your life. And what's it like for those who do manage to get across and make America their home. To tell their stories and protect identities, we've had to leave out some names, but here is Chasing the American Dream.
Agents insist ruthless smugglers are to blame. Earlier this month,
Give me you're tired, you're poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. America has always been a nation of immigrants and the children of immigrants. So many of us are from somewhere else. But the road to the promised land has never been an easy one, especially if you're illegal. Today, there are more undocumented immigrants trying to get into the U.S. than ever before. Some make it, some don't. We're working on a documentary for National Geographic Television. Is anyone interested in possibly talking?
Estamos buscando. No te preocupes, no te preocupes.
I am driving on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, California right now, and this is a place I've been coming to since I was 7 years old. My mom has lived here since I was 7, and I've always been fascinated by the Mexican immigrant community. They make this city function. They work in every hotel, in just about every restaurant, in the kitchens of every restaurant. And they are people who sort of live their lives in secret because they're not here legally. How has the work been?
Bad. I've been working for them.
What kinds of jobs?
Landscaping, drywalling, painting, roofing. It doesn't matter what kind of job, you know, we work. We got to dig some trenches, we do it too.
About 1 out of every 20 working people in the U.S. are illegal. In fact, consider this, at least 55% of Mexican immigrants in this country are vulnerable to arrest and deportation at any moment. This is a story that resonates deeply for me because my parents came to America as immigrants. I know what it's like to be first generation, but I don't know what it's like to be illegal and what it takes to make the long, hard journey here from Mexico. To see just how hard it is, there's no better way than getting a bird's eye view of the border.
When you get down there, that brush is getting high. Oh no, this definitely looks like very difficult terrain. And people do this at night too? Day and night. Without a flashlight, that's what blows my mind on it. Do you often find dead bodies out here? People who didn't make it? Mike had one yesterday out in East County. Who did you find yesterday, Mike? About a female, about 45, overweight, and but it was 100 degrees out there,
20 minutes in the air, the pilot spots a group traveling north of the border. But there's one big difference between them and the people who came through Ellis Island. These immigrants are here illegally. How many guys do you have in there?
We apprehended approximately 6 minutes ago. It's a good illustration of what illegal border crossers will do to try to conceal themselves as they enter into the country illegally. They put some sort of carpet underneath their feet to avoid being detected and not leave a footprint or a trail as they make their way across.
It may have taken weeks to make the long, hot trek into America, but only hours to be deported. Despite the high odds of being sent back to square one, thousands of Mexicans are still hitting the border every day. I wanted to go to Mexico to find out why. Ejutla de Crespo, in the southern Mexican state of Oaxaca, one of the poorest regions in the country. Well, they say that this is one of the towns where the majority of people have left or sort of are in transit. They go back and forth. Today is a market day, so a lot of people have come out from the countryside to sell things like goats. I've come here to meet Marcelino. Hey, Marcelino? Lisa. Hi, nice to meet you. Marcelino has already crossed into the U.S. illegally 3 times in the last 10 years. Tomorrow night, he'll set off on crossing number 4. Crossing the frontera, crossing the border is much more difficult and dangerous now, right?
Yes, it's very dangerous. Snakes, bad weather, a lot of things really bad. Some people, they want to kill us when we cross the border.
Very dangerous.
Yes, and immigration wants to catch us. Yes. We are looking for somebody that...
This is the first time Marcelino will be making a trip through the desert. To cross, he'll need a guide called a coyote. And coyotes don't come cheap. So how much money will you have to pay the coyote to go?
Like 1,500 for each person.
1,500 per
Yes,
person.
1,500.
That's a lot of money.
Yes.
Marcelino's home of Peña Larga is a study in the thorny realities of the American dream. It's a dream that has brought the town a new prosperity, including a spruced-up city hall and church and several newly built homes. But it's also drained Peña Larga of its people.
That house is alone because all his family in the United States.
Everyone's in the United
Yes,
States.
that house.
In just a few years, Peña Larga's population has gone from 150 to just 30. How many of you kids have family members in the United States?
¿Cuántos de ustedes tienen familiares en Estados Unidos? Que levanten la mano.
Your brother lives 11 of Marcelino's siblings already live and work in the U.S.
4 years ago.
On this trip, he's hoping to bring in 6 more relatives, including his niece Tikia, his nephew Francisco, his 68-year-old mother Arcadia, who's never seen any of her U.S.-born grandchildren, and his older brother Luis. Is it going to be difficult to leave your family behind when you go to America?
Sí, va a estar difícil.
Yes, very difficult.
Porque, pues,
And it'll be difficult to bring them across later.
un poco muy difícil.
But I think it will be better
Es que está mejor.
because there are jobs there. There's work.
Hay trabajo, hay empleo,
Here,
que no hay-
there are no jobs.
Although it means leaving family, this is a moment full of hope and big plans for a new life north of the border. They pack light, but on this trip, Marcelino will bring a video camera to document their journey. His video diary will be a first-hand account of an illegal border crossing. Marcelino knows the odds are against them. An estimated 2 out of 3 people who try to cross the U.S.-Mexico border never make it.
In this moment, we are getting on a truck to go to the airport in Oaxaca.
What awaits Marcelino in America may be more than he bargained for when chasing the American dream continues on Ultimate Explorer. Continues now with Lisa Ling.
The San Ysidro border in Southern California, just across from Tijuana, Mexico. The busiest international port of entry in the world. On average, 5,000 vehicles pass through San Ysidro every hour. Security here is tight as a drum. But there was a time when checkpoints like this were the entrance of choice for illegal immigrants into the U.S. People used to just sprint across at will. But in 1994, everything changed.
Under the budgets already passed, we've added 1,000 new Border Patrol agents just in the Southwest.
Over the past 10 years, the federal government has pumped more than $20 billion into security at major checkpoints along the border. But the number of illegal Mexican immigrants coming into the U.S. has actually climbed. They're just not using the same door to get in.
Luis.
Well, what's happened is as we've become more effective, the people still want to come across, the smugglers still want to make the money, and so they're willing to take these people out through the mountains, through the deserts, places that they never would have gone before.
And these new routes are a lot more dangerous. In some cases, fatal. Welcome to the Sonoran Desert. Mountainous, bone dry. Summer temperatures reaching nearly 200 degrees at ground level. No wonder more than 2,000 immigrants have died in the wilderness since 1994. Immigrants like Rosa Cano. The dominant presence in this house is someone who isn't here. A woman sorely missed by her grieving mother. Rosa grew up in one of the poorest towns in Yucatan. Abandoned by her husband and left with 2 young children to care for, Rosa made plans to find work in the U.S. But unlike Marcelino, there was a lot she didn't know about what the trip would involve. Her sister Elsie tried to convince Rosa not to go.
Cousins from a neighboring town came to tell her, let's head north. She was told that it's so easy to get to the United States. All it takes is to climb over a hill. But Rosa, many die in the desert. Ah, she said, if you're going to die, don't die lying in your hammock.
Rosa's family hasn't heard from her in over a year. Her mother suspects the worst, but she can't be sure. And that's the most painful part, not knowing.
I prayed to God that she come back, that at least her body show up, because that way I could be at peace. Otherwise, I will always have doubts.
Miles south of the border, Marcelino and his family are just beginning their journey to the U.S. It'll take 3 days just to get to the border.
this moment, we are in a hostel in Altar, Sonora, waiting to see what happens tomorrow.
Even if Marcelino makes it to the U.S., he'll be in a country that isn't sure it wants him. A country sharply divided. As many as 10 million undocumented immigrants live in the U.S. About 60% of them are Mexican. Illegal immigration is one of the hottest issues of the day. Some say they make a huge contribution to the American economy. But there are others who feel illegal immigrants take more than they give. Especially in states along the U.S.-Mexico border. In 2002 alone, hospitals in Arizona provided more than $40 million in care to illegal immigrants and didn't get reimbursed a penny from insurance companies or Medicaid. So Jim, how have things at the hospital changed over the last few years?
Over the last 5 years, we've seen almost a 500% increase in care we've had to render for immigrants that are coming from Mexico to the United States. And this has not only affected our hospital, it's affected all the hospitals in this area. We've had 2 OB units closed down. Maternity is no longer available in a 4,000 square mile area.
And pull up.
It's ironic that the hospital is busier than it's ever been, but yet it could very well close down for that very reason.
There's no money. We're mandated by federal law to treat everybody that comes to the emergency room, but if we're not getting paid and this facility closes and my child gets sick, where am I going to take them?
In border towns like Bisbee, the strain transient illegal immigrants put on social services makes them unwelcome visitors. But there are towns in places you'd never expect where they become a more permanent part of the community. And in some cases have actually brought ghost towns back from the dead. Is the Heartland, a small town story with a variety of characters.
Oh, he's very good.
My name is Philip Freeman. Bill Bowen.
And Wilma.
And my name is Jean Teal. And my name is Jean Graham.
It's a place as American as apple pie or huevos rancheros. This is Heavener, Oklahoma. It might be hard to tell today, but in the early 1990s, Heavener's Main Street was dying. Since 1994, a new poultry plant has been attracting hundreds of undocumented Mexicans. They've more than doubled the town's population, expanded the tax base, opened up new businesses, and revitalized the downtown. Regular paychecks also allowed Heavener's newest residents to send money back home. A lot of money. Remittances from the U.S. are the second largest source of foreign income for the Mexican economy, second only to oil exports. That's $13.2 billion a year. And if you think the locals are unhappy about their new neighbors, think again.
I like that. Is it weird that the majority, people say, of inhabitants of this town are illegal? They're not?
No. Well, how are you going to do your work? If you, they should be legal. No one doubts that. But who are you going to get to clean the chickens, to produce the work, if you don't have them? It's your industry couldn't survive without it.
I don't know anybody that they've taken jobs from, no. Because, most white people in the United States have been kind of spoiled. They had to have these jobs that paid a lot. And for $7.50 an hour, $8 an hour, there's not very many white people that go out here and work for that.
They ought to pay taxes. But they ought to be allowed to work. And being illegal, a lot of them don't pay taxes.
We spend hundreds of millions of dollars trying to enforce the U.S.-Mexico border. Why do we do that if we need this workforce?
Like it needs to be changed. They need to let these people come in here, give them a permit, let them come in here and work, let them go back. Then you don't have illegals in here. Just check them in, check them out, let them come, let them go. They're not stopping. They're just wasting money down there on the border, acting like they're guarding the border or something.
Meanwhile, a world away, Marcelino and his family are in a hostel 55 miles south of the border. It's Luis and his mother's last night with the group. Because Marcelino fears his mother wouldn't survive the trek, tomorrow she and Luis will take their chances the traditional way, crossing by car through Nogales, Arizona, while Marcelino and the others attempt to cross the Sonoran Desert on foot.
Coming up, Lisa investigates the fate of Rosa Cano when chasing the Unexplorer and chasing the American dream.
In this moment, we just left the hostel and are heading to a restaurant here in Antan, Sonora. Right now, we're here having lunch in a restaurant in Antan, Sonora. We just went to a store to buy food and everything we'll need during our walk through the desert.
It's time for Marcelino and his family to meet up with their guide. He's refused to allow his face to be shown. Border Patrol would love to get their hands on him. After 2.5 days on the road, they're about to begin the most dangerous leg of their migration, 40 miles through the desert on foot. This is where it all begins.
This here is just a cattle fence, and this is the international border. It's not designed to keep the immigrants out. It's designed to keep the cattle and the horses on their respective sides.
Officer Darren Mans of the Tohono O'odham Police Department patrols what has become the border crossing of choice into the U.S. More than 1,000 people cross here every day. In the last 3 years, Mans has found the remains of more than 20 immigrants who didn't survive the trip. Many carried no ID, but this woman did.
Wow, gosh.
By the time Mans got to the scene, her remains were unrecognizable.
It appeared they had been there for quite a while. They were in a state where the flesh was gone. They were totally bone. They were still in the clothes and the shoes, and there was bone, fragments scattered around the area.
She was carrying a voter registration card that identified her as Rosa Cano. But illegal immigrants often carry false documents, and in this case, the corpse was so far gone the medical examiner couldn't officially confirm her identity, so she became known as Jane Doe number 43.
When the unidentified remains of migrants are found, they're often brought to cemeteries like this. This is a pauper cemetery in Pima County in Tucson, Arizona. And this is an example. You see there are 7 people buried in this plot here alone. John Doe number 27, John Doe number 71, John Doe number 13.
This is where Jane Doe number 43 was headed until a forensic anthropologist at Baylor University decided to find out who she really was. Lori Baker is on a mission to give these anonymous victims back their names.
such an eerie thing that happens, you know, to be buried here with solely a number.
It is, and you have to realize that across the U.S. there's about 44% of the people that die trying to cross that go unidentified like this. There's cemeteries like this all across the border.
And there have been a record number of deaths this year.
There have. It's been a very hot year.
I'm just trying to think of, you know, a family member of mine being buried with a number only. I mean, it's so difficult to even fathom.
My grandmother had a brother that was stillborn on the way out to West Texas when they were migrant workers. She still goes back to that spot in the road where they buried him, you know, to go and visit. And so it means a lot to some people to really have a place to go and to mourn and to know that there's a loved one, and most of these people won't ever have that.
Baker's creating a database to cross-reference DNA samples from unidentified bodies with samples submitted by Mexican families with a missing relative. Jane Doe number 43 is her most promising case so far. Baker's extracted some DNA from a piece of her femur. She'll compare it to the blood sent by Rosa Cano's mother.
This is the sample that came from the family member.
That's all it takes.
That's all it takes. It's just a small piece. There's lots of DNA in the
If they match, the remains can be officially identified as those of Rosa Cano. Her mother has been waiting for more than a year for this moment.
So, that's probably who it is. I feel a lot sadder than I thought I would feel.
This is your first one.
This is the first one. You know, we want the project to have success in getting people home, but it also means that we just found out that someone died. And someone died that has a name, and I guess that makes it a lot harder.
Rosa had left home in the sweltering days of midsummer. Hoping to make her fortune in America, she pinned all her hopes on the honesty of a professional smuggler. 20 miles north of the border, Rosa twisted her ankle. She couldn't keep up. They promised to come back. They never did. Rosa Cano, mother of two, was 31 years old.
Marcelino crosses the same stretch of desert that took Rosa's life. When Chasing the American Dream continues on Ultimate Explorer. Chasing the American Dream continues now with Lisa Ling.
18 months after Rosa Cano's death, the Mexican consulate arranged to have her remains shipped home. Her return has brought a long-awaited closure.
Now I'm satisfied. I know where she's buried and I can bring her an amulet or a bouquet of flowers. It's not like before when I wasn't at ease because I was always unsure what had happened to her. But now I told her girls, kids, I'm going to tell you the truth. Your mother will never, ever come back. They brought her back, but she's dead. I think that this was my daughter's fate. Why did everyone else cross, but she didn't cross? I don't want people to go. I don't want anyone else to go and suffer like my daughter suffered.
Rosa Cano's journey has ended in tragedy. But despite the risks, Marcelino and his family will soon set out to cross the very same stretch of desert that took Rosa's life. As they prepare, Marcelino continues to record video of their trip.
In this moment, we're trying to get some food because we're going to need the energy.
Last stop before they hit the border, a desert outpost where everyone can replenish precious water supplies and eat a hot meal. They're about to step into the United States, and when they do, they'll be officially illegal.
We are very close to the border. The van just left us here, and we'll start to walk in a few minutes.
Border Patrol agents like Jose Molina and Jesus Jaime make the rounds here in the desert every night looking for undocumented immigrants.
Bring the traffic.
Why is this area significant?
It's significant because this is one of the main points that come from south, and it's not that far off from the Interstate 86.
They won't even move. I mean, they'll think that we're just checking areas and not necessarily looking for a particular individual, and they'll kind of just hide in the brush and let us either walk by thinking that we don't see them.
So you look for footprints out here?
Yeah.
Along with high-tech equipment, these agents use an old-fashioned tracking technique called cutting sign.
You have to really point it at an angle right here so you can see the pattern. You know, it's different pattern in here.
So do you think that's alien traffic?
No, that's going to be.
No, that's our.
Oh.
That's me, Lisa.
Oh.
But each what he's trying to get at is that we kind of distinguish patterns, and this is your typical lug boot, you know, and we call that a diamond pattern or running W. When we run across a different sign, we'll explain to you. You know, each one we have like a different.
The trackers look not only for footprints, but also for broken twigs, patches of fabric caught on thorns, discarded trash, anything that will indicate their quarry's path. Marcelino and his family have been walking now for 7 hours. They walk in the black of night, no flashlights, only the moon to light their path. Here, they're truly at the mercy of the coyote, which is why he doesn't get paid until they've made it safely into the U.S. Sizzling and arid during the day, the desert turns freezing cold at night. But with only trash bags for blankets, no one will sleep a wink.
Do is like when we were talking about earlier, they'll change out. They'll leave some of their clothes behind, their socks or something like that, and whatever they're not going to use anymore, they'll just discard and leave it there, and they'll use that same clothes as shelter.
The trash was left here recently. Molina and Jaime are convinced they're now on the track of a large group of illegal immigrants.
It's incredible. Does it still surprise you the lengths these people will go to try and get here? I mean, this is really difficult terrain.
It shocks me, actually. I mean, you're talking about a 5-day trek, you know, with you're not going to be able to carry enough water. So they're putting their lives in danger more than anything. But you'll get family groups out here, little kids, you know, 6-month-olds, and it's almost, you know, you look at the kid and you're like, man, you know.
That's the question. What was so bad to make them want to do this? Light out. Never mind, I thought I saw some lights out there, but it doesn't look like it's anything.
Marcelino and the others have now been walking through the desert for 2 grueling days. They've seen no sign of Border Patrol.
We will continue to walk. In perhaps 2.5 hours, we'll rest again. We are deep in the desert. I am very tired, but we need to continue.
They take advantage of the cool hours of the morning, but soon the sun becomes too hot for travel. They're running low on water, and the desert begins to take its toll.
Aquí vamos a permanecer como por 5 o 6 horas
We're going to stay here for 5 or 6 hours. It's already very hot now, and we have to wait for the temperature to cool down.
Además estamos muy cansados, todos estamos agotados. Tenemos muchas.
We are all really tired and thirsty. We have many blisters on our feet and many cactus needles all over us. The trees are tearing at us. We are all very thirsty, and that's why we can't continue.
Just backstrap your way, and you're going to see that you got a cross trainer here.
After a 9-hour pursuit, Molina and Jaime are poised to close the trap.
They don't definitely come across this way here out on the road. Okay, 10-4, 107. We're going to go to where you're hovering and get on what you got there. 10-4. He's hovering over something else. Yeah, but we picked up, we lost you, then we came across the east and we picked up again some other stuff, and it's where it brought us.
The trap is sprung, but it's not Marcelino's group they've apprehended.
We're just checking to see if they're carrying any weapons or anything. I mean, even just a dull blade, we'll take it from them.
How long have they been walking?
¿Cuántos días han caminado? 4. Reasons one, maybe they just got tired and decided.
Agent Molina thinks these men were abandoned by their guide. The same predicament that led to Rosicano's
I don't
death.
care what happens. I mean, if he gets half the group there to where he's got to get him, he's going to make money. So if these guys are lagging, some of the lags, they're going to say, okay, you guys are on your own, we're out. And then that's probably what happened to these guys.
These men will soon be processed at Border Patrol headquarters and driven back to Mexico. While Marcelino has managed to stay one step ahead of the law.
In this moment, we are getting ready to start walking again, and we'll walk all night.
Battling exhaustion and thirst, the family trudges through the pitch-black desert. They finally arrive at a pre-arranged rendezvous on Highway 86 and are picked up and packed in the back of a truck. They spend the night at a safe house in Phoenix. The desert is behind them, but they still have hundreds of miles to go to reach their new home.
En este momento partiremos hacia el trayecto final.
Chasing the American Dream will continue on Ultimate Explorer. Chasing the American Dream.
En este momento partiremos.
We are heading off for our final destination. Everyone who came with me is about to get into the car. Tikia, how do you feel about almost being there?
Happy. I'll finally get to know the United States.
It's taken 7 long days, but at last the journey's over. For now, they'll be staying with Marcelino's sister in a typical American town. But they learn that Luis and his mother were caught by Border Patrol. After 2 failed attempts, they gave up and went back to Oaxaca. So you made it.
Yes, I did it, and I'm so happy because now I'm here in the United States. Do you remember when I was in Oaxaca in Mexico? Now I'm happy because I'm with my family that is here too.
What is your dream, Marcelino?
To have a house, I think account in the bank for my daughter, because I want that she go to school and I want that she be a professional person.
Is it the American dream?
Yes, it is, because I'm in America, and that's my dream.
For Marcelino and his family, like millions of people in this country, the American dream comes with constant uncertainty. They build lives here, but they could be deported at any time. And it's an issue that has gone to the very top of the national agenda.
This program will offer legal status as temporary workers to the millions of undocumented men and women now employed in the United States.
President Bush's plan is not without some vocal opposition.
The president's proposal rewards people who have broken the law. That's bad policy.
But good or bad, policy talks between the U.S. and Mexico are moving forward.
We've met many times since. Today I'm pleased to host you here at our ranch.
Señor Presidente, Laura y yo estamos muy complacidos.
A week after he met with George Bush, I got a chance to talk to Mexican President Vicente Fox about this issue.
How are you?
Fine,
So nice to meet you.
we in Mexico should have the ability to build up a strong economy which creates the needed amount of jobs for Mexico so that these kids or these citizens don't have to go to the United States just looking for opportunities. Mexicans like to live in Mexico, like Mexican culture, like Mexican food. If they have the opportunities, they would stay in Mexico.
What do you think the U.S.'s responsibility then should be to these people?
It should be to recognize the dignity, the capacity, the productivity, and the enormous contribution they make to U.S. economy.
Immigrants we will always have with us. And no matter how we come down on the issue of illegal immigration, it's unlikely to disappear anytime soon. The truth is, we could build a fence from sea to shining sea, and still, no matter what the cost, people would find a way into the promised land. As immigrants always have. If you'd like to find out more about today's show, visit our website at nationalgeographic.com/Ultimate Explorer. That's it for our show. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Ultimate Explorer.
Sunday on Ultimate Explorer. It's a night of ultimate survival. First, amidst the ice floes of the Arctic, giant predators battle to survive. One man risks his life to document their struggle. Then, some people call him crazy. Join wildlife cinematographer Lance Milbrand, marooned on a Pacific